Katie.Pix. Today we are making one pot stew and dumplings. Very little effort in the beginning, and then you've got to leave it for a little bit, but when you tuck in, oh my goodness, it's so worth it. So we're going to start off by setting our oven to 150 degrees centigrade. And we're going to use a nice big, large, super huge stock pot. Now you don't actually have to use one this big, but this recipe is going to feed about 4 to 6 people, depending on how generous you're feeling. We're going to pop this pan on a nice high heat. I'm using braising steak here, so I've got 1 kilogram of braising steak. We're going to put this in batches into our pan, which is getting nice and hot. I'm going to put a generous bit of oil in there to make sure that it's all, I'm going to say well lubricated, but that sounds dirty. And we're going to do it in batches so that you make sure that everything's got a nice bit of space to crisp up rather than stew and boil. And you'll hear it sizzle. That's the one. And I'm going to season this nice and generously as well with a big hefty pinch of salt, lovely, and some pepper. At this point, you're not looking to cook the beef through. So what you're looking for is just that gorgeous colour, that kind of crispiness to start appearing on the outside of the beef. And then that's going to come out and we'll do another batch. So all of our beef has been lovely and seared. The great thing about this recipe and most casserole recipes is that you can use up those really cheap cuts of meat. So as well as braising steak, oxtail, shin all work really beautifully and are super, super cheap in this recipe too. So massive win, massive win. So we're going to keep the pan on the heat but drop it down a little bit. I'm going to start off with 6 rashers of streaked smoky bacon because what cannot be improved with a little bit of bacon. I'm going to pop that into the pan and then I'm going to start on my veggies. So whilst that's frying, I'm going to dice up 2 onions into the pan, 3 normal sized carrots, but I've got teeny tiny ones, so I've gone for 6. So you go and give those a couple of minutes in the pan just to catch a bit of colour, start to soften slightly, but as I say, long time in the oven, so they really don't need to be sat there for too long. Now we're going to prepare our herbs. So we've got 2 sprigs of rosemary, so I'm just going to take off the rosemary from there, 1/4 of a bunch of thyme, and then we're going to roughly chop through all that, and that's going to go into our pan with 2 leaves of bay, or 2 bay leaves, as some might say, and 2 cloves of garlic, just chunked up, chopped up. Chopping the garlic into the pan as well, lovely. Make sure that's really nicely mixed. Now all those veggies got a lovely bit of colour. Now our beef is going to go back into the pan with all those gorgeous juices as well. Next, you're going to add 2 tablespoons of plain flour. You're going to sprinkle it over and make sure it's well stirred in. This is going to thicken up your sauce. And then we're going to add in, which seems to be creeping in a lot of my recipes at the moment, some wine, some red wine. We're going to go for a hearty Italian red, and we're going to add 2 glasses of red wine to the pan. Keep the pan on quite a high heat because you want it to evaporate and to kind of burn off that alcohol. And whilst we're doing so, I've just prepped here a very concentrated stock, but you're going to need about 2 litres of beef stock. So I've got a nice concentrated and I'll top the rest up with water. We're going to add enough stock so that your beef is covered, and you do want it well covered because, as I say, it's tucking itself away for quite a long time. So in with the beef. So our pot is now going to go covered. My stock pot's way too big, so I've just put some foil over it, but loosely covered into our oven at 150 degrees for 4 hours and 15 minutes in total. That is some slow cooking. So whilst that's cooking, I'm going to prep some new potatoes. I've got about 16 here, which should be more than enough. Dice them into chunky cubes. And these are going to go in at 3 hours. Remember that, at 3 hours, these are added to the pan. So now my potatoes have gone in, I'm gonna prep my dumplings. First, we're gonna start with 200 grams of self-raising flour with 100 grams of suet, a nice generous pinch of salt, and 2 sprigs of rosemary finely chopped. Then you're gonna add 10 tablespoons of water or thereabouts, adding a little at a time until you have a pliable dough. We're then gonna divide this into 8 balls, and then these are gonna sit just on top of your stew, going in half an hour before the end. So this has been in the oven for a total of 4 hours and 15 minutes. The gravy has thickened, the potatoes have gone gorgeously soft. All that's left to do is, oh, if I just break into that, look. How tender is that? All that's left to do is to give it a try. That's cozy winter deliciousness at its finest. If you've liked this recipe, guys, please do subscribe. Leave me a comment in the box below to tell me what is your favourite winter warmer. Until next time anyway, take care. Bye!